Started.
Super King. Let's try e4. I think Super King has a pretty good record against me. Okay, we get a Sicilian, the normal line. Open Sicilian. And we'll see if we get, yes, the Najdorf. Okay, I think I'm going to go back to bishop e3. That's the kind of the main move these days. So, the early knight g4. It is possible, I guess. There's no check here, anything tricky. So, the bishop has to move. I guess it goes here to g5. It looks like if it goes to f4, there's the pawn to e5 fork. So the bishop is going to get pushed around like this. But maybe that's an okay square for the bishop. I'm going to go ahead and kick the knight. I don't want it sitting there, but it's going to go to, yeah. Yeah, maybe that was pointless because I drove the knight to a good square. So I could consider knight to f5, but he would probably just take it. Okay, why don't I prepare to castle queenside. And I don't want to take his knight and open up another file on the queenside if I'm going to castle there. Oh, he just moved his bishop away. That's kind of interesting. So I could bring my knight back to e3. Knight to e3. Looks like a good square for the knight, since he didn't take it off when it was on f5. I can hop back into f5 at some point in the future, perhaps, but right now that gives me a little extra influence over d5, and it also gives me some influence over g4 here. So d5, knight d5 now. Why not? This pawn is not hanging. That's interesting. So he wasted a bit of time there. I think I'll go ahead and push on with f4. I was debating whether to move my king to b1 first and get it off of this diagonal, but this seems to be a good move anyway, and I can grab the diagonal with my bishop. He's got this move with the knight. Okay, can I play knight f5 now? Knight f5. He can take the bishop. I can take his bishop. He can take the knight. I take. And then he takes the bishop and I take. Not sure about any of that. Maybe I want to keep the bishop. Yeah, I could play knight to knight to g4. Bishop takes, pawn takes. It increases the pressure on h6. Gives me another open file to work with over here. Knight takes. I could take with the queen, perhaps. I went that way. I can take with the queen or the knight. This dark squared bishop is gone, so I don't have to worry about the skewer on this diagonal. The knight is good on... the knight looks good on d5, so let's leave it there. And then his queen could get on this dark squared diagonal. Oh, what was I saying about the dark squared bishop? I was so totally wrong about that. He can get his bishop here, and he can skewer me. Okay, so where is my knight going? Probably e3. At least it interrupts this diagonal. I'm going to play the move G4 if I can. G4 to G5. Queen takes. Queen takes. I guess I can't play it. This pawn is weak. Can I attack it? Let's just move my king to safety while I think about think about what I'm doing here. This bishop needs to get into the game somehow. Not the best square, but I don't have a lot of squares for that bishop. Okay, I don't particularly want to trade queens just yet. And if he wants to take that pawn, is that okay? Nah, I don't want to just give up the pawn for nothing, I guess. Not in this position, so... yeah, this pawn is undefended now. So let's go for it. And c3 just to alleviate some of the pressure here. Does open up a diagonal for a square for the knight. Okay, defends with the bishop. So let's double on the rook file. Double on the h file. So I get this rook up with tempo. And then he can't stop me from doubling. And he can't really contest the control of this file, at least not right away. He could have played knight to... could have considered knight to g6 there. I still have rook h7.
Check.
How am I going to get my other pieces in, though? Probably the knight. The bishop is kind of stuck here. Okay, knight c2, d4. And where does it go from there? Knight f1 to... maybe that's an idea. Knight f1 to g3 to h5, hitting the bishop. I want to trade that off. I want to trade that off. Okay, so the threat is knight h5 hitting the pinned bishop. So that stops the threat because knight h5, we have king takes rook. Is that right? Knight h5, king takes rook. Knight takes pawn check. Double check. King moves. He can go to here or here. No, he can only go to this square. Knight h5, king takes h7, knight takes f6 check. It's a double check, so the king has to move, and the king only has one square, so the king will go back to g6. Then I can take the rook, he takes back. I also have bishop here. So the knight will be here. He's got the knight defending the square. Okay, I guess it's no good. There's also rook takes, knight here, check. King moves, rook here, knight here. Don't quite see it. Okay, so let's bring the rook back somewhere. I can still play knight h5. Maybe I can attack the f-pawn. He attacks my bishop, yeah. So if I move the knight, he can just take the bishop. So, and if I attack the rook, he can just defend it. So let's get the bishop to a different diagonal. He can take it, but I need to either activate the bishop or trade it. It wasn't doing any good where it was. So that was a trade. So I can still play knight here. Now, knight here hitting the rook is probably a better move. He's going to take, so if I had threatened his rook with the rook, he could take on c3, defending his rook. But now, when I threaten his rook, he has to take or retreat. And now I can take back on c3 with the knight. So we end up in this end game. 2 pawns against 1 on each side of the board. The bishop is hitting my knight. Now rook here, bishop takes knight, rook here check, and the bishop comes back. Okay, so let's defend the knight. I mean, the pawn was defending it too, but I would lose a pawn if I wasn't careful. He just wants to trade off the pawns. That's interesting. Hard to believe that's best. If I attack it, how is he going to defend it? With the rook, maybe? Oh, with the king. Okay, so now I unpin the knight so I can... okay, and then he decides to take. So he's going to try and win this game with an outside passed pawn, huh? Maybe. Can come forward with his king.
Check.
We'll see. This might be a winning pawn endgame. It's hard to tell. It's Black clearly has the advantage because he's got this advanced pawn. And
check.
But I can buy some time by checking his king, and then I can get an advanced pawn myself. So the idea is to sacrifice the rook for the pawn.
Check.
And then these 2 pawns, there should be enough to secure a draw. His king is out of play. So this should be actually an easy draw. Might have. Maybe I should have promoted the tried to promote the rook pawn. Because it's just close.
Game drawn.
It was almost a win. So there might have been a situation.
Challenge.
No, I'm not going to play again. There might have been a situation where I had a win somewhere along here. Yeah, I have to take that and get out of the way. But maybe if I push the rook pawn and he has to sacrifice the knight for that, I could win with the bishop pawn. Anyway, we'll take a look at that in the postmortem. And see you guys later. Bye.